Before we start this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast, I wanted to remind you that the Complete Wedding Videography course will be opening for enrollment on November 14th. In this course, we cover it all: business, shooting, and editing. If you'd like to test drive the course, head over to CompleteWeddingVideography.com. There you can download a section, watch some exclusive BTS from a real wedding, and snag our wedding day questionnaire all for free. This course is designed to take your wedding filmmaking business to the next level. Again, that website is CompleteWeddingVideography.com, and we will be opening enrollment on November 14th. Now let's start this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller. I am so excited to be joined by my best good buddy, Mr. John Bunn. John, how are you doing over there?
Man, I am really good. I am in such a great mood. Last week up until today has just really been mind-blowing. Over here at How to Film Weddings, we work so hard all year long, and we open the doors to our course twice a year. And this week, today, is the last day that the doors are open to join our full course. So like this whole last week, we've gone live several times on our YouTube channel. We've done lots of giveaways. It's a lot of fun. We like to celebrate when people are investing into themselves. So this last week has been insane. This morning I woke up and there's snow on the ground. Like, it's getting into that time of the year. I have one wedding left for this year. I'm just feeling really good about the inquiries that are coming in and really great about How to Film Weddings. How are you?
Dude, I'm so good. A few things. First off, it's Thanksgiving week.
Tis.
And you know, we're going to spend time with family. We're going to see Jen's family this year for Thanksgiving, so that's good. And 1 week from today, John, it's my birthday. So I expect lots and lots of gifts from all of our listeners.
Yes, I'm still waiting on mine for my birthday was a couple weeks ago, and I'm still waiting on my gift from you, actually, now that we think about it. And when we saw each other, not even once did anybody on the team say happy birthday or bring a gift.
I did something better. I texted you on your birthday and just said happy birthday.
Yes, that is exactly what you did. And it made me feel so special. But your birthday is different because it's your birthday, not mine. So you're going to be 41, correct?
Oh, that's correct. And anyway, you know, we don't need to spend time talking about my birthday, even though it's a glorious time of year is my birthday.
A celebration for all of us, yes.
Celebration. All of you can celebrate with me on my birthday on November the 28th. That's. I also made a Facebook post in our group about you on your birthday.
Oh yeah. I'm so special. That meant a lot.
It took a lot of effort. It was so special that you remembered it. Yeah. Anyway, we'll sidebar that.
Okay.
Again,
I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter about it.
Dude, I can't spoil it for you. I'll just leave you hanging. I'll just leave you hanging with that one. Back to what we were originally talking about. Doing very good. Our course is live. This is the last day that it's open. First off, we want to say thank you to everyone that has joined. Like, it was the best. Most people joined that have ever joined in a short amount of time for our course launch. We had a promo for the first 25 get a special discount, and that sold out within like hours. It was incredible that we were able to have that happen, and we're so thankful to all of you. In saying that, also, it's still open as we drop this episode, it's still open today. Today is the last day, and if you'd like more information on it, go to CompleteWeddingVideography.com, and you can read all about it, read some reviews, figure out what's in the course. Also, hit us up on Instagram today at How to Film Weddings if you have any questions. John, I know that we have gotten a lot of people that have given us reviews and shared some information about their experience with the course, but I know that our friend Kylina, she had some really great things to say about it, and we were going to kind of summarize it and kind of share, but we felt that it was so much better to kind of let her words speak, and I think that you just want to read a couple of things that she said about it. So I'm teeing you up to go ahead and do that.
Thanks for the tee up. And yeah, it's been an exciting week for sure. So many have joined. There's still time today if you're listening on launch day of this episode. So Kylina said this, and I think it was really cool. She was one of the very first people to invest into the Complete Wedding Videography course 2 years ago whenever we opened it for the first time. And she said, 2 years ago when the course was announced, I was contemplating purchasing it, entering my third year, and I was completely self-taught with zero guidance and mentorship, just learning as I went. But I knew I wanted to be more for myself, for my couples, and to overall serve them better. Going into 2020, I was charging a max of $3,800. Fast forward 2.5 years later, and I'm charging $7,000 and just booked my first $10,000 booking for next year. I've been to Texas, Georgia, and Hawaii in the last 30 days filming amazing weddings, and I have grown in so many ways, from how I manage my business to planning out the day for success with my couples to shooting to editing and beyond. I am so glad I invested in myself, and I cannot wait to see what another 2 years brings my way. It has been so fun to watch Kylina and the literal hundreds of people go through this course, learn from us, watch our behind the scenes. And I said it in last week's episode, a couple times a year, we push pretty hard to help you to see the value of something like this course or a mastermind group or things like that. And we always get pushback of people saying, oh, of course, you're just in it for the money. I promise you this, we are fine if nobody else joins the course. That is not what this is about. We care about success and success stories. Whoops, I said that word wrong. Success and success stories for our listeners. We want you to be set apart in your industry, in your market, and it elevates the entire thing for all of us. So with that being said, if you're on the fence about it, just do it. We can get you started for $147, or it's $14.97 if you pay in full, which is a bargain with everything that you get. So we have nobody's asking for like this thing sucks, anything like that. They're all great reviews. You can see them all over our website and things like that. So getting into today's topic, Nick, this is something that I think is really, really important. We've been doing a lot of mentor sessions with people in our mastermind group or course purchasers or just people that have paid for mentor sessions with us. And yesterday, as we record this on a Friday, yesterday, we had 2 different mentor sessions, and a lot of things came out that I really think are important for this time of year. And so we've titled this kind of talk, Is It Time to Raise Your Prices? Nick, I'm going to tee it back over to you. I've been talking for a long time to kind of set up this topic for today.
Yeah. So in a couple of those mentor sessions we did, it was one where the filmmaker, they had, I don't know, for this year, something like 30 weddings. And then next year, they already have 23 on the books. And they're wanting to do 25. And we're sitting here in November, and, we haven't even hit engagement season yet. We haven't even hit that time of year where you're going to get an influx of inquiries and all that stuff. And so, they were asking us, what do you think? Am I worth this? Am I not worth this? Should I raise my prices? What should I do, moving forward if I only want to do 2 more? And there were a couple of things that came up. One, if you are whatever you want your bookings to be, if you are sitting there with, I would say over 75% booked for what you want to be for next year, I would definitely consider a steep or drastic increase in your prices. And the reason for that is you need to value yourself and your time. Okay, there's some of you sitting out there that were like, yeah, they already have 23 booked for next year. And you're like, ugh, like all I want to do is like 15. Like that sounds terrible, and just the workload and all the stuff that you need to do. So you're thinking it from a workload standpoint. And especially if you're booking yourself at a lower price, you're going to book up faster. And you're like, man, I have all these weddings and I'm looking at my bank account and the amount of work that I'm doing versus how much I'm getting paid, it's not equal in your mind, right? And so that's a good reason to drastically raise your prices so that you can make more money for those future weddings that you're going to get. The other thing to think about, when it comes to raising your prices, is you're in a spot with it being at the end of the year and engagement season coming up, and that, if you, let's say you need 5 more weddings or you want 5 more weddings or something like that, and you raise your prices some, that kind of gets you in a different market a little bit, depending on how much you raise your prices, right? And so you're going to be able to possibly shoot weddings that you really want to do and that you're going toward, towards that direction. And it also gives you a little bit of time to raise those prices to see if people are willing to bite on that. If you raise them too much and no one books you, then you're like, okay, I did it too much, but you have time to kind of recoup and figure that out. Or maybe you raise them just a little bit. Let's say you go from your current pricing, you raise it $500, and then people don't bat an eye, and you book 2 really quick with 500. Now you're like, okay, maybe I need to raise them 300 more or 500 more or something like that. And you can continue to raise your prices that way. So some very good things to be considering. And then also they were talking about, just their future and things that they had planned and potentially getting engaged and planning their own wedding and, just life happening and stuff. And whenever you take all that stuff into consideration, saving up for things and just what is going to happen in the future, you don't know. And you shouldn't make these future, this was a thought that you had, John, whilst we were talking about this. You shouldn't make these decisions on your booking and stuff based on who you are now. You should be future thinking and think about what future you is wanting you to do. Now, I've chatted a lot, and I feel like I said some good things, but I might not have said some good things. So,
Jerry's out. No, I'm kidding. During that mentor session, it's like who we're chatting with literally had 30 weddings booked this year, 23 for next year. Engagement season hasn't even happened. And they were asking, are my prices correct? Are they? And it's just like, no, they're way too inexpensive because you're already 95% booked up for next year. You don't have any margin for any of these bigger weddings. And on their website, it said no longer accepting whatever weddings. I think I was a year off in the conversation yesterday, but basically not really accepting new weddings at this point. And I challenged them saying, if they were wanting to pay $10,000, would you take the wedding? And they were like, yeah. And it's like, so your books aren't closed, are they? And so knowing those things, a couple of things are is it time to raise your prices? Is kind of the title for today. Is it time to lower your prices? That, but there's some science behind knowing whether you're in the right spot or not. And it's different for every single person. Mm-hmm. The mentor sessions we had yesterday, one of them was planning, hey, we're thinking about starting a family soon. Should we not take as many weddings? One is planning an engagement. They know they're going to be getting married soon. And life is happening. And the truth of the matter is, like you said, Nick, and this is something I really want to drive home today, is that today you can't be making decisions for the bookings you are about to get. It has to be future you making these decisions. And hear me out. Today you think you're worth this much, right? But all the weddings you just filmed this year, right? Whenever you booked those, if you could go back and call yourself from today, from the future, and call past you and say, hey, what would you tell them? Would you tell them you took too many weddings, you didn't charge enough, you were better than this? I think one of the weddings of the mentor session that we were talking to yesterday was I charged $900 for this wedding. And they're kicking themselves in the butt because it was way too low for their $3,000 starting price. Now, COVID did that a little bit to people where weddings kept getting pushed back. And it was oh my goodness, I'm 3 years better. And so when you're thinking about these weddings, these inquiries that are about to come in during the busiest booking season of the year, is today you the one that is making the decisions on prices and packages and what you're charging, and you're low on money, so you're willing to take a booking today, or you just love that location or whatever it is. Today you, with today you's skill, you have the skill that you have all the way up until November of 2022, and you're booking a wedding for November of 23 or 24. You're going to have 12 more months or 24 more months of practice and listening to podcasts and investing in courses and doing mentor sessions and editing and life and inflation and all the stuff that's happening between now and then is going to happen. And I think that one of the biggest reasons that people fizzle out of the wedding video business is they're not taking into account that there is usually a large gap of time between actually booking something and shooting it. And almost all the time when we're talking to these hundreds of people and the hundreds of mentor sessions we've done, we hear it again and again. I overbooked. I didn't charge enough. I'm backlogged. I'm feeling burned out. Like I don't have creativity. I'm stressed. People are messaging me, asking me where their wedding films are. And all of this can be figured out if you work a system. And we've whittled it down to kind of really thinking through some practical steps of what you should do to know if you're actually charging the right amount or if you need to raise your prices.
Yeah. And so the first thing that you should really sit down and figure out is how much money do you need to survive? You know, kind of what's your baseline? And whenever we talk about knowing your numbers, I definitely fell in the camp of, oh, I'm just going to say this is how much I cost and this is how much I charge, and just not really having a system and not really understanding. And that's why after I went full time, we did okay, but I remember after being full time for maybe a year and a half or so, like it was like $6 in my bank account across both bank accounts or something like that. Like it was really embarrassing. But part of that reason that happened was because I didn't really sit down and figure out, okay, this is how much my mortgage is. This is how much my bills are. This is how much food is. Like I didn't make a plan and figure that stuff out and then kind of stick to it. Okay. So if you want to know where you should be and make more, you know, maybe you want to book up a lot of weddings and that stuff. And you're like, well, and in order for you, if you want to keep it a certain price point, because that's just where you want to work, maybe you need to do 50 weddings a year. Maybe that's, you know, kind of your thing, but you might not really have a clue of that until you sit down and figure out, hey, how can I do this? I know that so many people just kind of go and, you know, whenever we talk to wedding vendors, there are so many that get into it for the creativity of doing it, and they like creating the films. They like shooting, and the business side of stuff isn't something that they really focus in on a lot, and they're not spending their time and their energy on the business side of stuff. And so they're like, yeah, I'll do it for $2,000 or $3,000 and just kind of throwing out numbers. But you know, it's a really cool wedding, you know, that they want to shoot, you know, that they have to travel to. And they're not calculating in travel costs because, oh, it's just something that I want to do. Which if you're trying to break into that market and, you know, doing that for that's a different conversation. But what I'm saying is not knowing your cost of doing business and not knowing what it costs to live, you can get in a problem like I did, because I didn't know how much to survive, and I would have adjusted my pricing accordingly or done something different in my life so that I wouldn't have gotten myself in that situation. So based on that baseline of what you need to live, then you could figure out how many weddings you need to take. And a lot of people don't sit there. They just say, oh, I want to do 15 weddings. But then they don't know what it costs to live. In order for them to do 15 weddings, they might need to be charging $18,000 to live how they want to live.
Nick and I have to tell you about one of our favorite places to upload our wedding films, and that is Love Stories TV. Love Stories TV is one of the best free resources for us wedding filmmakers. The best part is they are bringing the couples to us. All we have to do is upload our films and we are good to go. Upload unlimited wedding films to your completely free business page. Setup is easy and your films can be live in just minutes. Now is the perfect time to start uploading to Love Stories TV. So head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to check out all of the details and see how Love Stories TV is giving away $10,000 in cash to wedding filmmakers just like you. That's howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to start uploading and connecting with the right couples today.
One question that we see wedding filmmakers asking, what is the best site for licensing music? We have one answer, MusicBed. I have been exclusively using MusicBed since 2016, and our films are better because of it. I have been told during consultations that couples love our films because they feel raw, authentic, and that the music wasn't cheesy. MusicBed has a roster of incredibly talented musicians, bands, and composers who pour their hearts into their work, and you can hear the difference. Find the perfect song with MusicBed's intuitive search features like genre, mood, beats per minute, and key, which is probably my favorite of the search parameters. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed to do what I did and take your wedding films to the next level. Use promo code HTFW22 at checkout to receive 1 month free with the purchase of any annual subscription. That's howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed.
When we were chatting yesterday with one of our mentees, if that's a word, I think it is. Minty. It was like, what's the very least you need to survive? And they were like, well, we'd like to do it. And I was like, no. What's the like very baseline? So that's the first thing you need to do is like write out all your bills. If you haven't noticed, there's been a thing called inflation lately. So maybe add 10% more for next year and 10% more for the next year, just on the low end. And it will really be this eye-opening experience where it's like, whoa, we need, let's just say it's $5,000 a month as a family to just like pay our rent, get groceries, gas, whatever. That might be super low in your area. That might be super high in your area, whatever, but just $4,000, whatever. And it's like, okay, so $4,000 a month this year, maybe $4,500 a month next year. So you're looking at, $50,000 to $60,000 is like your baseline for this year, and then 50 to 60 for the next year. So if you're saying, hey, I want to shoot only 10 weddings and I need to make $60,000, you need to charge $6,000 per wedding to make it worth it. And maybe when you look at your website and you look at your films and you look at like what you've been charging, you might say that would be a ridiculous amount for me to charge. So that doesn't mean you can charge that, but that helps you, step one, finding the baseline. And then step two, figuring out at the very max, like in the I'm going to have a nervous breakdown if I take one more wedding. Like this is the max number you'd be willing to take. Maybe that's 20 and not 10. And so you say, I need to make $60,000 and I would take up to 20. Like that's it. That means that that the least that you would charge is around $3,000 for each wedding. Say, okay, I got to get $3,000 a wedding. I need to book 20 of these just to survive. If you're in the case where you've done that and now you've gotten past that number, let's say you've booked 15 weddings, but all of them have been $5,000 bookings. You're already at $75,000 worth of bookings. You don't need any more money to survive. We don't want you to just survive in life. That's not the point. But when you're in that position to where or you're getting eerily close to being able to pay all of your bills already for the next year, this is where you can get a little more aggressive, and this is where you can take a little bit more risks. When we were talking yesterday to our mentee, it was like, you've already got this many booked. It's probably worth it for you to start out $1,000 more per wedding. It doesn't matter because you've already got all the money that you're going to need, and you're going to start saying no to a lot more people. But you could then take those no's and refer other wedding filmmakers that are maybe newer than you. That establishes you as a better filmmaker in the area. It builds relationships. Maybe there's some, reciprocity that comes with them referring back to you. Maybe, and so those kinds of things really matter. But if you don't even know the direction you're heading in, you don't know what you need to survive. That's step one. If you don't know how many weddings you want to take at max, that's going to be step two. That's going to really hurt you 12 months from now, 24 months from now. And future you is always calling, saying, think about these things right now. So later, next November, you're not backlogged with $6 in your bank account.
Mm-hmm. One thing is, as you were talking there, I think a lot of the, people ask, am I worth this? Am I worth this? And, if I raise my prices $1,000, I don't think I'm worth that. One thing that I want to let you know out there, listener, is that if someone pays the price that you are throwing out there, you are worth it. Okay? You are worth it. And it doesn't matter what you think. The people that are hiring you see the value in you, and you are worth that amount. On the flip side, you could say something. I remember going to WPPI a few years ago, or it was someone was talking, and they were like, yeah, I'm a $10,000 videographer, or I'm a $10,000 photographer, whatever. Because that's what they determine their value. and they determined their worth, and that's what they said that they were. And so their packages started at 10,000, and someone was saying, hey, how many have you booked at that amount? And they're like, oh, I haven't booked one. The highest package I've ever booked was like $6,000. And this other person said, you're not a $10,000 professional, you're a $6,000 professional. I know that you value that, but it's what people are paying you. And so it kind of goes both ways in that. But I'm telling you that as an encouragement that on the low side, if you charge a lot more and someone pays it, you are worth that amount, and you need to flip that switch in your mind. Also, if you're like, man, you have 23 booked next year, you raise your prices $1,000, that scary amount, someone books it, you are worth it. But also, if it's at the end of next year, now you have 23 weddings in your backlog, 23 weddings to film, 23 weddings to edit to get 23 weddings better. Okay. I know that, John and I are big pushers of raising your prices and charging what you're worth and that sort of stuff. But also there are things that when you raise your prices that need to go along with that. Your quality of work, your customer service, your brand, everything. There's so many pieces of it that need to go in there. And so if you are one of those people that we have talked a lot, bookings are down, like people just aren't booking, that kind of thing. Maybe you need to take a look at some of those pieces, and maybe it might be you saying, okay, either I need to take some stuff out of my packages or lower my prices a little bit or something to get this to a spot where it fits. Because again, you could be saying, I am worth this amount, but until you actually book something at that amount, your market, right? Your market might be telling you, actually, you're not. And so if you want to charge those prices, maybe this is where I start looking in other markets and destination stuff, or I lower my prices and stuff to be competitive in the place where you live. So just a little food for thought that I think that we need to share with others.
Yeah, and I think timing of this episode, really thinking about today, you can't be making decisions for the bookings you're about to get. It has to be future you. The last little part of that is taking the time to figure out how many weddings you've done this year, how much you made per wedding, what is your most booked package, what is the average, what do you want to change about those packages? You can give yourself a raise by not including as much in packages but keeping the same price. You might keep the same starting price but not include 5 films in it, maybe just 1 film or 1 little teaser but figuring out, let's say, you figure out you did 30 weddings this year, you averaged $5,000 a wedding, but your biggest and most booked package was a $4,000 package. Like that data, it's geeky to go through and do that, but it's actually worth putting in a spreadsheet and kind of seeing those averages. It'll help determine, do I need to change something about my packages? Do I need to change my starting prices? Is it time for me to raise my prices? Do I like where I'm starting in my market? Do I feel like I'm getting a good amount of inquiries? And do you need to get better at upselling them to a bigger collection? Or do you need to get better at upselling them after they've booked and getting more money per wedding? But if you don't know, hey, my goal per wedding is X amount of dollars, I might book them at $3,500, but my goal is $5,000. What am I going to do to maybe upsell them a few things that they really need after they book, things like that? That will help you determine if you need to raise or lower your prices. So there's a lot of food for thought when it comes to this topic, and we wanted to have this shorter episode just to kind of get your mind thinking now. Thanksgiving's this week. People start getting engaged after Thanksgiving. It just happens. It's like 50% of engagements happen between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day. And what's going to happen is people are those grooms, or a lot of them, have rings in their pockets right now, waiting for the perfect time. They're talking to parents and saying, hey, I want to propose. I'm ready to propose. Christmas season happens, the romantic Christmas lights and the snow falling and all this. It's just, that's what people do. And then they celebrate over the holidays. And then the beginning of the year comes around and they get back to work and they get back to things and they start really wanting to book things and get them ready for maybe either this year or next year. Mm-hmm. And you need to be ready. And if you don't get ready now, future you is going to be upset again and backlogged and feel extra tired, and you might just crack. You might not want to do weddings anymore, and that's not our goal. The weddings that you are booking today, I have to say this, like, they are paying you for the skills that you will have on the wedding day, not the skill you have today. I want to say that one more time. The weddings you are booking today, they are paying you for the skill you will have on their wedding day, not the skill you have today. They're not paying you for November 2022 version of you. They are paying for November 2023 or June 2024. So that person, how are they going to be different than you are today? What's going to be different about you today than you are today? You're going to have listened to more podcast episodes. You're going to have joined courses. You're going to have learned better color grading, better shooting. You're going to get more repetitions on your cameras. You're going to make better relationships. And the worst thing that can happen is that you overbook, and hear what our mentor session said yesterday. They said, I have 3 or 4 inquiries on these days, and I took weddings for way too cheap, and some of my dream weddings have come up on these specific days, and I can't do them. They were looking for potentially hiring associate shooters and all this stuff. And if they would have just said no to something because they knew their numbers, they would have been available for that awesome destination wedding in Europe. So you have to be able to balance that, leave room for margin, and then that gives you the freedom to take a few weddings each year where you're like, I don't care about the money on this one. This one's a brand builder. I want to go to Cabo, I want to do this thing, or I want to go to Charleston or wherever, or want to film this big wedding in my hometown just for this planner because it just works and it's worth it. These kinds of things don't just happen if you're just kind of floating along, taking what you can get, not knowing whether you should raise your prices, randomly picking numbers, and that's not the kind of audience that we're trying to build here with How to Film Weddings. Nick, what do you have to add?
Yeah, I think that you said it really well, and about what's the difference between where you are today, the wedding that you booked today that's happening in the future, and who you are. And we adamantly believe that one of the best things that you can do for yourself is investing in yourself through education, through workshops, through styled shoots, through things where you can experiment and play and learn and become better. And so as we wrap up today's episode, we want to, again, as this episode drops, we want to remind you about our complete wedding videography course. It's 3 modules: business, shooting, and editing. It's everything that John and I have learned over the past 20 plus years of doing this combined. Business section, one of the cool things that's included in it is real Zoom calls with couples, and you can hear the consultations. Some of them have booked with us, some of them have not booked with us, but you can just learn, and we kind of peel back the curtain a little bit so you can see the conversations and hear conversations that we had. On the shooting side of things, not only are we going through and talking about what you should be thinking about on a wedding day, but we have a few behind the scenes videos of John and I at weddings, and you can hear us talk and explain what it is that we're doing. And then on the editing side of things, we talk about theory and what you should be considering and thinking about whenever it comes to editing. But then I sit down and I break down an entire wedding edit, where from import to export, everything that I do in between, all the stuff that I'm thinking about in an edit. And so we wanted not only to tell you things that would give you knowledge, but show you some of the stuff that we should be doing. We think that that's really important. And then, John, some other bonuses. John has an upsell guide that he put together. Okay, they've booked. How can you potentially make more money from your couple? Sam Jacobson, who is a sales guru, has a section in there talking about sales and how you can implement them into your business, and so help you in the selling process. We have lots of mentor sessions that we got permission from people to upload. You can learn from the things that they have doing or the questions they have had. Maybe they're in a very similar spot that you are in, and you can learn from them. And so you can get all of that. Start today for $147 a month, or if you want to pay in full for $14.97. And if you pay in full, then you can also receive our posing guide absolutely free. This has all of our templates, our pricing guide, our emails, our budget sheet, a lot of this kind of stuff that we're talking about today is, but all of that stuff, it's like $800 worth of templates that are included in this product. That's $14.97. All of that today. And if you want more information, if you have things you're like, I'm kind of on the fence, I need to read more, CompleteWeddingVideography.com. That's CompleteWeddingVideography.com. Again, reach out to us on Instagram at How to Film Weddings. Our DMs are going to be open all day today, answering your questions if there's anything that you would like to know specifically. John, I think this is a really good episode talking about raising your prices. And one of the best ways to do that is to get better, learn more, educate yourself. And so, again, that's CompleteWeddingVideography.com if you are interested. Anything you want to add before we land this plane, buddy?
Yeah, and I can land it. I like landing every now and
then.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to everybody that has invested their dollars into the course, invested their time into listening. We hope you hear our hearts. We are not just here to sell you stuff, especially stuff that doesn't help change your life. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how amazing it is to be in the chair that Nick and I get to sit in and watch as the wedding film industry literally is changing before our eyes. Mm-hmm. 5 years ago when we started this thing, I think about the wedding filmmaking education space. There just wasn't that much when it came to courses or even presets or templates or anything to help. Photographers were always so far ahead of us. There were hundreds of courses for photographers, and photographers were investing real dollars for mentorships, for masterminds, for courses, and you could see it paying off. Photographers started charging $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for wedding photography, yet we all know how important wedding video is, how much work and how much more work it is than certain categories. Not saying that we work harder than photographers, but we do. But watching the industry literally change before our eyes, more and more people saying, I am going to earmark a few $1,000s a year towards investing into education, to live workshops, to presets, and putting those dollars forth and literally watching over the last 1,000 days of this course being available to the public, watching hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people joining, walking through the information, letting us hold their hands and mentor them, asking questions in our private groups so that they could make a difference, and getting those messages saying, I've changed my family tree. I've changed I quit working my full-time job. I have money in the bank. I'm happy. I'm on a destination wedding. I never thought I would be in Hawaii filming. All these messages that we get all the time thanking us. That's why we do it. And the more that we can invest into you, the more the industry grows. So we just want to say thank you. If you've already joined our course before and you're sitting here listening to us talking again about the course, thank you for just staying here with us and being part of the How to Film Weddings family, and really just investing your time into what we're doing. So we hope you have an amazing week. If you have questions, like Nick said, please let us know. Have an amazing, amazing Thanksgiving to everyone in the States here. If you're not from the States, just celebrate on Thursday anyway. We can all be thankful. So have a great week, and until next time, we'll see ya.
See ya. Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films? Look no further. Our friends over at VidFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. VidFlow is pay-per-use with no large upfront costs or commitment, and you can cancel at any time. VidFlow offers a premium viewing experience for all of your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years of hosting and an experience for your couples that will blow them away. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/vidflow, where you can save 20% off a yearly business membership by using promo code HTFW20. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way. Give your couples something to rave about by using VidFlow.